Without further ado, let's talk about books. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, or if you're new here, welcome. Actually, I have not talked about books in a long while, since January basically, so I wanted to talk more about books like this one and all the other books that I have read in January and February, which is a lot considering I had less time and I read more fanfics than actual books, but at the same time, it was actually good. I talk about books most of the time, or crochet, or K pop, and I think for February, I just want to go over the books that I got in World Book Fair, which I wanted to make a separate video about, but I have been kind of pushing that project off. I also went on a trip, which was honestly amazing, worth it, but at the same time, it messed up my schedule so much. Without further ado, let's talk about these books. So, first, I want to start with something that is not exactly a book, but at the same time, I am kind of proud of it. So, this is the fanfic that I bound. So, basically, this book, oh, I just removed my bookmark, but I installed a bookmark. This is something that I did with my own hands. It's like an AO3 fanfic, and as you can see, it's chunky. It's actually 3 books combined. Yeah, and the edges were kind of messed up, so I did with washi tape. And it's not the most perfect, but at the same time, I love it because I got to know what is the right way to sew on signatures and add a bookmark and the whole process. I had a lot of help with regards to how to make signatures and everything, so I'll link those videos in the description. This was not the first fanfic that I bound. This is the first fanfic that I bound. Obviously, it's not perfect at all, but it is kind of thin and there are like a lot of mistakes that I didn't think through. So I would say this whole project was like very tedious, but at the same time so gratifying because these are the books that I actually had read a lot of times. These are like my comfort books. I used to read them again and again. Honestly, even though they are fanfics, they are written so well that I kept on looking for them rather than actual books. So that is why I decided to bind them to keep them forever in my memory. Imagine somebody in a future distance sees this on my bookshelf, or like anyone who gets these books and they will be like, what is going on? Why can't I find anything? On the other hand, here are 2 books that I loved, which is Frankenstein and The Phantom of the Opera. This book is so good. It's so good. It was everything that I hoped for, and especially since I knew the background of this book, how it is nature versus scientific reasoning and the author's mindset while going into this book, it felt even more personal and it felt even more good. Why I like this book is because of the creature, the Frankenstein, the son, the child actually that was made in this book, and the way that you go from realizing that Victor is a scientifically curious person to a bad person because he tried to play God, succeeded, and then when he had to actually take care of a person, of a child almost, or not almost, actually the creature was a child, and how he failed. So the whole process was very nice. Also, I want to talk about the movie featuring Jacob Elordi. He was so good. The whole movie was so good. I loved the fact that they changed a lot of details. I know a lot of people hate when they change books and movies, but at the same time, I love it if it is done right. Like, for example, you look at True Blood, the whole show is so good and it justifies the text of the book, of the novel, of the author's feelings, but at the same time, there are a lot of works that kind of go against what the author wanted or like what the reader hoped for. Most of the time, this happens a lot in K-dramas where they adapt from a manga and or like a manhwa, and it is so bad in terms of changing everything, every detail, whether it be, for example, Queen of Tears, or any other K-drama that has been adapted. There are very few K-dramas that really maybe change the plot line, but at the same time keep the soul intact. So I think the book and the movie, both of them were very good. Okay, moving on to The Phantom of the Opera. I loved this book, and it is because of how well written is this. And I'm noticing a pattern that I love when some books are like a recount from somebody else's perspective. Like even in Frankenstein, the captain was narrating the book, and in this, the author is acting as like a journalist who is portraying the events that happen in the opera. You feel how he's covering the story, and there are so many points where it is a little bit comical, and at the same time it kind of till the end confuses you if Eric was a person or is a ghost or somebody else. So this was like a 4 out of 5 star read for me, because I kind of did compare it to the theatre plays, and the theatre plays have this dashing young man as the phantom, whilst in the book it is described as a gruesome man who doesn't have eyes, and instead it's like the eyes are sunken in to the point that you can only see yellow balls of flaming light at night. Okay, on to the books that I bought in World Book Fair. I have The Knight and the Moth, and I didn't read it. I took it on my trip to read with me, but I didn't have the time to read at all. And went in knowing nothing about this book. I still don't know anything aside from the fact that there's an oracle and a knight, and the oracle has friends who have disappeared, and she is trying to find them with the help of the knight. I don't know anything else beside from this, so yeah. In regards to the fact that this is the genre that I love to read, I am looking forward to it. On to the next book. This is Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer, and I bought this purposefully because I knew it would be crack. I knew it would be unhinged, and this has not disappointed me. This is like a chunky book, okay? This is way bigger than I expected it to be, but imagining the fact that it kind of has every detail of Edward Cullen's life in regards to the 4 books that were published in the Twilight series, I think this is justifiable. But at the same time, this is so unhinged again. And let me tell you why I think it is unhinged. I am like 5 chapters in. This book has up until now described how much Edward Cullen wants to kill Bella, and I just don't remember Twilight that much, but all I remember is from the story of Bella, you have her kind of fawning over Edward and imagining, you know, all these beautiful things with it, and being a teenager who is very angsty. And then you have Edward Cullen, who is like recounting his days in as a nurse, and, you know, just imagining if he kills 20 people, would it be justifiable? And just, you know, fighting the monster inside. It's a chunky book that needs a lot of time to get through, so I had to put it aside to focus on my studies, because my 6th semester of law school has started, and it is brutal. It is from the start. I have so many exams, so many practicals, and I say this maybe in every video, but it is not cool at all. It doesn't support my dreams of just being a bookworm all day at all. So yeah. On to the next book. This is The Little Friend by Donna Tartt, and this book I got because I read The Secret History and I really loved it. I loved the writing style of the author, and I am noticing a pattern where I reach more for the books that have a good writing style. This was a book that I didn't even know that I was going to read. I just picked it up. I was like at the, you know, World Book Fair, and it is a hardcover copy, and it was pretty, so I just bought it. This is very book dragon vibes. On to the next book. This is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I have so much to say about this book, as you can see from the annotations. It is so good. About this book, I have a lot of thoughts, and they are not organized at all, so I had to literally write down a lot of things
about the author.
There are so many things that I need to talk about. So starting with the fact that my favorite character in the book was Bogdan and Elizabeth. Elizabeth is so elusive. It's a character who knows everything, is like, has all the resources, is like a mega mind, and I loved it. On the other hand, Bogdan is like a person who you might think is a bad person, and his actions in the book are like a bad person, but it is justifiable. So this is a very chaotic review of the book, and I'm gonna make it as spoiler free as possible so that other people can enjoy it. But what you notice, like themes and patterns that are like lovely to me, that are like the most delicate kind of thing that I look for in the book, is the fact that there is all forms of love throughout the book. There's and the love is so tender. Like, you see the relationship of Ron with his son, of Joyce and her daughter Joanna, and it's like the kind of love that you don't expect from this kind of book, and all the characters are justifiably characteristics. Like, it's not that the character feels very out of field or there in the book to just justify a plot point. It's like very harmonious. First of all, the whole book is so good and it is tied together so good. There is nothing in the book that is irrelevant. Like, for example, let me just tell you about the start of the book. The start of the book is Elizabeth approaching Joyce with a case file, and she's telling him about some wounds on the missing persons case, like the cold murder case. And it may seem that the detail is irrelevant, but as you go on throughout the book, you will find that every piece of information is relevant. Other things about the book that I loved. First of all, Joyce as the voice of the author. So there are points where you might think that this kind of information needs to be given by the author to support the plot or like to explain the plot, and that is done very well by the way of Joyce, who acts as the author's voice. And this is something that I gleaned from an author's interview, and in that interview I also got to know that this author has written only one book. Like, up until 2020, this was the first book that he wrote, and I was so surprised considering this writing is so good and it keeps you intrigued, it keeps you hooked till the end. So I was thinking that this is a very like well-established author that I didn't know about. So I'm looking forward to reading more of his books. And that also reminds me, this book was so good at confusing you. Like, the plot twists are so good. Up until the end, like, most of my annotations are like, what do you even mean that this is not true or this is that? At some point I was like, I have figured out the plot, I have figured out what is gonna happen next. And then I'm like, no, that is not gonna happen. So half of my annotations are like Ron, and half of my annotations are
like moments where I just went like, what do you mean? What do you even mean by this?
Also, one more thing, since I'll just explain a bit of the plot. So this book is set in a town of retired people. The average age is above 60, and it is like a murder solving club where 4 people who are above the age of like 70 are sitting together and solving cold cases. So what I really loved about this book, and what I usually see in TVs in real life as well, is that we infantilize elderly people so much. And we see them as almost childlike in their behavior, but we often forget that they are more intelligent than what we give them credit for, because this book actually summarizes everything that an elderly person is. Like, they might be childlike, they might be very stereotypical, but at the same time you cannot forget that they have lived more than you, that they have more knowledge than you, and so it's better to not underestimate them. So this book also focuses on that, which is something I do not find in most of the books or in reality as well. Next book is A Life of Pi by Jan Martel, and this book is a second-hand book that the person who read this book read it before I was even born. So this is like very nostalgic. But I have like not read it much, maybe like 5-6 chapters. It's a good blend of realizing the ethnic or like the details of India and how it reflects in any other country. This is something that I am enjoying a lot. Although I did put it down for another crack book, which is The Bride by Ali Hazelwood. And honestly, I went in with a lot of prejudice against the book, because I had seen the TikTok reviews, the book talk reviews, and all of them were like, is this as smart, this is like, spice and all that. I'm like, I kind of pushed it off, this book, until the end. I am now like 20 chapters in. I am enjoying it. Not gonna say it's my favorite, not gonna say that it's the best book, but at the same time, I am enjoying it because it has a lot of like world building, a lot of like political points, and a lot of themes that are very reflective of the real world, which was not something that I imagined this book to have. But at the end of the day, the book is about vampires, it is about werewolves, and there are some moments like the fact that the character's name is Misery. Okay, so that was very weird, considering one thing just kept on coming back to me, like Misery and Owen are twins who were born at the same time, and which caused the demise of their mother. So imagine that one person being named Misery because their mother died because of childbirth. That would seem plausible, but at the same time, you realize that Owen is the twin who was born at the same time, who also caused or like just as much hand in this. So I don't understand why one person is named Owen and the other person is named Misery by the council. So that was something that stuck with me. And second thing is that the person, like, you know, Misery is told as a person who has seen a lot of like crisis situations. I'm trying not to give any spoilers for those who want to read this book, but Misery is the kind of person who is very stoic, who has been in a lot of diplomatic situations and is overall very calm and very, like, you know, level-headed. But at the same time, when she enters into the new predicament, she kind of abandons all the traits of being a diplomat, of being stoic and everything. So that was something that threw me off. Like, gradually, yeah, people do change, but I think the way that the character was introduced and the way that the character is going was very different. Overall, I think the book is nice. I will continue it. I will finish it. I am 20 chapters in. I think the total count is 32. So I am gonna see how it goes and let you know the review later. But that is all I have for today. I think I talked about a lot of books. So I hope you enjoyed this update and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.